Let's see. Marshall. Hello, Marshall. Hello, all. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in. Welcome in. Thank you for all those hearts. Continue to share. Continue to give the hearts. I appreciate that. That gets the live stream pushed out even more. Thank you so much. Hello, YouTube. And so, this woman, she's built up this reputation. She's global, she's well known, and she's used a lot of just a lot of the work, frankly, work, um, perhaps lots of micromanagement, depending on her personality, etc. And so, what inevitably happens with this woman is she wants so much more because for a woman, speaking to women right now, for a woman, you know, becoming successful through the masculine way, while it will give you a lot of accoutrements, right? A lot of the material things that the masculine can give, right? A lot of the material, masculine, just work, right? If your work is very linear, it's extremely strategic in a masculine way. Uh, which is so easy for us to do, the society we live in. But right, once she achieves so much of the status that gives her what material things can give, when you are awarded, when you have money, when you can move through challenges because of money you have, when you can organize your life and prop things up with lots of convenience and ease because you can pay for things. And when you have built up a career or built anything, not even just a career, but an identity, right? Whoever you think you are today, when all of that is built up with lacking of the feminine, it naturally is very weak. Okay. The feminine is sustenance, it is nutrients, it's the soil of a thing. So when I or any woman who's accomplished builds up a career without the sustenance and the nourishment of the feminine, inevitably there will be some exhaustion. Inevitably there will be on the to the eye, it looks like such success to the visible eye. It's like, wow, cars, wow, real estate, wow, travel, wow, designer labels, wow, you look good, girl, your face, your hair, your makeup, your body. Wow, wow, wow. And for those of us who have been there, we know the sort of internal depletion that exists, right? And these are conversations that we're having behind the scenes. This is not new information, right? It's like on the front, girl, right? We're in the fabulous cars. We're doing all the things. And only our spiritual mothers, maybe our real mothers, our friends, a mentor who has the coach knows what's really going on. That eventually that woman, wow, right? The level of deep hunger, the deep level of unmet need that will have a woman sometimes abandon that career entirely to go get to know who she is, uh, and so many other things. But on the way to her seeking her feminine power, the nourishing power, the sustainable power, the full power, the penetrating power. I know we associate penetrating with the masculine, but when a woman is in her full feminine power, she's incredibly penetrative. But because she's the fullness, which is the feminine, she's also highly receptive. So there's this circular way of being able to be open and receive and absorb while also being able to penetrate with her very way of being. And so on the way, right? So she's materially she's accomplished, but internally she's empty. She's unfulfilled. She's restless. She's And all the things that could come with that, right? Getting served divorce papers out of the blue, because in her masculine rise to success, there was a kind of disconnection with the spouse. First with herself, which naturally happens with the spouse. So then he loses his interest, right? Um, a disease could rise, um, so many things. And so what happens is, when her whole identity in this world that she lives in, a PhD, award winning, accomplished professional woman, is very much based on these masculine ways of being, which is, I do this work, I get this result. I do this work, I get this result. And it's very linear, which lacks sustenance. It lacks nourishment, it lacks food, it lacks the elasticity of a woman who's rich in joy, rich in connection with her body, with life, with herself. It lacks all of that. And she's looking out in the world with her inner world crumbling. Oftentimes, the instinctive reaction is to grip it. She wants to hold on to it because she's very unfamiliar with her feminine self. All she knows is how to use money to get what she wants, how to use this sort of, I'm the authority, so do it. This sort of relationship she has with people is one of, like, I'm in control, I know what I'm doing. So I can't be in this sort of exploratory, childish way that when a woman starts to explore the feminine in her, she is. There's lots of unknown. There's lots of play and wonder and curiosity. And, but when your whole game for the last 2 decades is building up the authority on the world stage as the viral TEDx speaker and the well-paid retreat leader and the one who's powerful and who knows, with the team who is there to support the vision and the mission, and the transition from that authority into a much more vast, open, surrendered state where her full power is, where she starts to have a different influence now. It's not a work, linear, what's the plan, strategy, these are her dates, power and order and direction. It's a very intuitive, leaned back. I get a sense and a feeling about things. We're going to go this way because I just get a sense, or this feels like, the right way. And so I go this way. And, you see these kinds of things, right? I like this right here. This is I call this in. Thank you very much. So I'd like for Cindy to clarify your what you're intending to communicate with this one word, because I have an idea of where I'd like to go with that. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Maddie. I do not do one-on-one counseling. Is that these one word? I feel some something really good something very useful that could come out of that. What about credentials? Her writing on credentials and nothing more? What about credentials? We must have some trolls in here, because TikTok just sent me a message that says some comments on this live were filtered to protect the community's experience. Hello, trolls. I like trolls, by the way. They give us content. Thank you, Phoenix, the Phoenix. So, at any point, if anybody has any questions here, I want you to feel welcome to post them. Okay. You're welcome, Christu. So, the topic, I'm giving some context for this kind of woman. So to understand what control looks like, and control has so many faces. Attempt to control has so many faces. And this is a common one. This is a really common one. Wow. Again, for anyone who wants me to consider their comment to respond, you need to have a profile photo. Phoenix said control is an illusion. Yeah. And so I feel the going into having a dynamic conversation here now. Like always, change. Okay. When this woman is transforming, right? When this woman is transforming, and I'm talking about her, but this could apply to any transformation. When this woman is transforming from being highly controlling in her way of being and thinking, okay? She looks at everything through a linear lens. She is hyper guarded on how she is perceived. Everything is structured, ordered, laid out. In a because there's some kind of order, obviously, in any business. There's some kind of structure, but okay. So she's going from that because when she's in that, what a woman ends up not liking about that is that it lacks a spontaneity that brings a joy and a spice to it. It lacks a sort of fluidity that allows for something fresh and creative to come in and move and create a new dynamic experience for herself, for her team, for her customers. And then if she calls herself being a pioneer and a leader, it just really blocks all the spiritual essence that comes into something that makes it, like King's speech. The story, at least that I've been told, and perhaps you've been told too, the I Have a Dream speech is he had his whole dream speech written down that he had planned and, structured, ordered, prepared for, got himself ready as a speaker to speak on the stage in front of thousands of people. And there he is at the podium, prepared to tell his well ordered, structured, rehearsed speech. I Have a Dream speech. It wasn't even I Have a Dream originally, right? That he had, but whatever talk he had prepared. And then the story is that, was it Mahalia Jackson? What was the black woman who she was behind, all the people that were behind him during that talk? She was there and they made eye contact and she said something to him in that moment that totally shifted his well prepared and ordered and structured talk. And then, boom, he gave I Have a Dream. Now, if he had been rigid about, no, this is the talk that I'm giving because I've practiced and struck ready and rehearsed, and this is the way we're going, like so many women do when they're controlling and they want to control the narrative, they want to control how they're perceived, you know, and, she's so used to this idea that she's in control. She's so used to things being this way. Her whole seven-figure empire has been built, multiple seven figures, oftentimes. Her multiple seven-figure empire has been built on her having these very linear ways of being, these very structured, it must be, it is this way. Um, Not connected to her body. That's a big one. Being very conceptual. Like she understands things very conceptually. Like she can argue you down and she got debates for days. And you know what I mean? She can be like, well, because this text confirms this and this data says this and this research by Harvard in 1932 that tells us that the science in this article written 3 months ago by, the Washington Post is that the 32.7% of women under the age of 22 can dilate and have children like this. And we also know that this anesthesiologist who worked with this, who worked with this historian in Ghana for 7 years in the 1800s uncovered some bones that linked to 700 BC. And like she will argue you the fuck down, and she understands everything she's telling you conceptually, but she doesn't know it here in her body. She doesn't know it in her feminine vessel. She doesn't know it in a way where it's in her being, in her decision making. It's very much it's up here. And so this is why these women, they get their husband they get served these divorce papers. They're like, you look at them and they're beautiful and articulate and rich and got PhDs and real estate portfolios and well traveled and all that. But there's a sort of magnetism that is lacking because all of her buildup for the last 20 years has been hyper up here, hyper study and understanding it the masculine way. And I want to put some compassion on this right now because we live in a society of the welfare system of patriarchy. We live in a society of the welfare system of patriarchy that gives men unearned privilege by the sheer fact of being born with a penis, like white men. Okay, white men get a privilege just because they are born white. It's a welfare system. They don't earn it at all. They don't work for it. There's nothing to build up and work. They get it just being born male. So that's for all males, no matter their ethnicity or race. And then when you're white, there's a particular kind of privilege just being born white. It's a welfare system. So us as women living in this welfare system where patriarchy is revered because the men of old made it that way through violence, through suppression, through lies, through religion, through the creation of stories, distortion, etc., in order to give themselves and create this welfare system. And we are all taking it in every day, unconsciously, before we realize that it's even a system. I mean, I didn't know about patriarchy when I was 10 years old. Did you? I didn't know about patriarchy when I was 30 years old. Okay. So we're taking in this idea that men are these particular beings just because the men of old set it up that way for it to be that way today. But we just have to remember these things well, I'll speak for myself. I remember this and know this all the time when I'm working with a woman who's struggling with the shift from being very successful the masculine way, especially in America. I mean, you can do it. It's set up that way, okay? To get into the existing systems and thrive there. And if you have proclivities for that, if you can, you're relatively smart and you're willing to work, and right, it's not hard to do. Like, yes, you got to be consistent in work, but the system is set up for us to easily comply with the welfare system of patriarchy, take on very masculine ways of thinking and being, and habituate them in our body and our way of being. And we will continue to do it. And we are supported in doing it by friends and family. Wow, girl, you've been working a lot, girl. Girl, I know that's right. Get that bag and dragging yourself around to, reputation and money. Da, 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 da. And most of us don't just wake up one day and say, you know what, this isn't working for me. Normally, what gets us to really assess with new, fresh eyes what we're doing? What typically happens? That forces us to sit down and make a new decision that comes from deep within. What typically happens? We get sick or hurt. Exactly. Health declines. Cindy, you mentioned credentials earlier. What were you getting at? You just put the word up. What were you getting at? Nick said your body. Exactly. So you get sick, your health declines, your cortisol levels go through the roof, you get hurt, you're compromising your body, etc. Right? I want to answer that in a minute. All that starts to happen, and then we start to question, right? Because we get forced to. I was just in the DMs with a woman. She and I actually have been connected on TikTok for what has it been, a year now? And she's in the hospital where she was last week. What happened? Stress, and it triggered an autoimmune response. What was it? Stress. So now she's forced, right? This is what I mean. And it's so important for us to remember that the system is set up. I mean, if you're living in it every day, this upside down reality, and men concur with it because it benefits them. We have to remember this. Most men are not aware of how we got to, most women are not aware either, okay? Are not aware of how we got to the way the world is ordered today. Most people don't know. And so I want to say something in a moment after I read these comments. And that's what I thought. I just wanted you to confirm it, Cindy. So Cindy said, I wanted to know your credentials. I'm in school for my master's. This is so fitting for the very where we are right now in this conversation. Isn't that divine? Thank you, Cindy. Matt, hi, Maddie. What's the wow about? I'm just realizing how women going outside are dealing with such a male-oriented page. Right. And it's we just comply because it's been here since we were born. This is not natural what we're living in right now. It is not natural. So I'm gonna park that for a moment. What are you saying wow to, Nick? Because maybe that'll contribute. How befitting for the discussion, the credentials, right? The story about how the lady got sick from the stress and the autoimmune. Yeah, I mean, this happens all the time. Autoimmune issue, cancer, you know, even just breaking down, like just waking up one morning, ready to keep going about your busy day, and you can't move, like you can't walk. Something, I hear these stories all the time. This is happening all the time, and it's just normal. It's just normal. Go to Bali. Go to Bali. You know who you're gonna run into? You know you're gonna run into in Bali? A bunch of women who got burnt out. I'm telling you, you're gonna run into a bunch of Australians, first of all, because it's the first piece of land outside of Australia. So you go to Bali, you know who you're gonna meet? A bunch of Australians and a bunch of women from all over the world, who they got burnt out from work. They are going through a breakup with a boyfriend, and their whole world has been disillusioned. They are tired of something somewhere with somebody, a job, a relationship, family, life, and Bali just magnetizes people who are women, particularly who are burning, hungry, thriving for transformation. So when you go there, that's what you're going to run into, a bunch of that, and you're going to meet a bunch of women who got sick at some point. Exactly, Kaylin said they're eat, pray, loving. That's exactly what they're doing. So they've been burnt out, they were sick, they were bedridden, they were fed up, they were pissed off, they, wanted to give up on life for a little while, all of that, because it's very habituated. It's just so habituated. So this is very fitting now. I'd like to park, remind me what I said we were going to park, but then bring forward what Cindy said about, what did she say? I don't know you. So for those of you who just got here recently, Cindy is a woman. Hi, Sandy. Is a woman who is new here, obviously. And earlier in the conversation, she put up the word credentials. And my sense was she was asking about my credentials, but I wanted her to confirm that. And she did. And her answer was, I don't know you. I wanted to know what your credentials are. And what did she say? I'm in school for my master's right now. This is so good. Thank you, Cindy. So, one, I'm thinking about where I want to enter this because there's multiple ways to enter this conversation. Cindy, are you here? Because I'd love to work with this at a mind level, because this is a very masculine question to ask somebody their credentials. It's very masculine. A woman who was in her feminine state wouldn't ask that. So I want to get at the mind of this, not just bring my experience in, right? Because I could do that, right? But I want to deal with it at a mind level, because that's where this is coming from. It's a really good example of how we're so drenched in masculine ways and we just act them out, and it's just natural. Like Cindy felt totally like, yeah, okay with asking that question. Like she did. Most people don't see that as a masculine, like, what are your credentials, right? Especially on the topic of the feminine, which is vast. Okay. What was my question? Oh, um, why? What would what's an example of credentials to you, Cindy? Give me an example. And I'm imagining a college degree as an example of a credential because you followed the question with, I'm in school for my master's. So obviously that's important to you. That means something to you. So what's an example of a credential to you? Give me to you, what are the three credentials that are the most powerful to you? The three credentials that are the most validating, that give somebody the, what is it? The right to talk about something, or the intelligence to talk about something? Yeah, like, are you a therapist, right? What are the credentials? I want to hear, what are the credentials to you? I'm not a therapist. So Cindy just asked me, what do you do for a living? I'd like to get at the source of your question. And maybe not for you, because maybe to you it doesn't matter, but I want to, with everybody who's here now, And I have YouTube going. So the people who are going to watch, who are here now, I see one person. And then the replay viewers, I want them to understand how women living in a masculine world keep themselves out of unapologetic power and don't know it. We don't know that we're doing this. That's how the system works. It's just here and we just agree to it all the time by living in it. Okay. Like it just is, right? Well, of course not. So my question though is, what is an example of credentials to you? Cindy asked, what are your credentials? Because my credentials, my credentials would make me somebody worth listening to, right? Right, Cindy? I'm getting at something here. This is not about you, Cindy. It's a bigger point that I want to make here. So Cindy's response is, I drive a Benz. You see, do you guys see? I asked, I drive a Benz, right? Natasha said, oh, wow. I see that. I am a mechanic and I see other women be like that. Be like what? What else did you say, Cindy? Are you going to answer the question? If you don't want to engage to get to the point, that's fine too. She said, I'm in the military. She said, that's not the only thing I said. She said, I'm in the military. What are credentials? What are valuable credentials to you? So here's where I'd like to go with this. Cindy asked me that question because she wanted me to share something with her that to her gives me a sort of respect in her eyes, that she could see me as, oh, she's somebody worth listening to because she has a PhD in feminine power, right? To her, that gives me a value. She hasn't answered the question yet, so I don't know if that's the exact one, but there's certain things that she values. A Benz, right? Because she has one, and she's sharing it as from a proud place. I am in the military, so that's a credential, right? What else, right? Those are credentials to her. Now, when we start not even talking, but the experience that a woman has living through life, uh, dating, marrying, if she chooses that way, giving birth, if she chooses that way, exploring the unknown of her, exploring her sexuality. Okay. And so all the things that a woman would do to explore her sexuality in the taboo realm, in the mainstream realm, um, hosting retreats, writing books, being out in the world, working with people to get life experience and truly doing this at a conscious level to understand the human mind, to understand life, and ultimately to know who is God. Okay, so I'm talking about this from an elevated perspective. Yeah. And so in that, she gains a wisdom. She gains an understanding of what not only woman is, but what human is, who God is, through her interaction and what I call full contact sport of life. Now, for a woman to do this, it's a very intuitive experience. It's not well, is this right? Does this make sense? Is this the right way? It's why are you going this way? I just get a sense to go this way. Why are you going that way? I feel it. I know. And I go this way. Well, why are you leaving such a good, I'm telling you, it's just a feeling that I get. And how respected is that way in the world? How respected is that? I just get a sense. I just really get a strong intuitive hunch to go this way, to make that phone call, to leave this job, to travel. I just get a hunch versus, well, I did the research and the data says that Thailand is the best place for Black people to live. And do you know that for the last 20 years, their GDP has increased by 10%? And The WHO organization said that their green energy program is the best one in the world. So that means I'm going to be breathing better oxygen. And do you know that mothers get 3 years of maternity leave? Because I did the research that ABC, and like all of this stuff adds up. So that's why I'm going to Thailand, right? Right now, and that's how the masculine mind works. This is not a problem. I just want us to understand, when you're in a feminine vessel, you're a vessel and a portal for a reason. So much from the unseen world is moving through you all the time. But the patriarchal world, the world that men of old have created, deliberately reduced that, made your body a sin, made it inferior, less than. That's what religion, Christianity, let me say that, Christianity is about. This is what Catholicism is about. This is what the whole line of the woman is under the man. She's to give herself over to the man. Like, all of that is to reduce you. Catholicism is loaded with making this a sin, when this is what all of the unknown and spiritual world comes through, is this. But when the programming of religion, of men of old, of the Malleus Maleficorum, of all the brutality and the murder, if all that was put down, not even if, this is all, we know this stuff. Go, if you want to go do research, right? With all this being put down in an organized, deliberate way for centuries, it's no wonder I'm on here talking about the feminine path when a woman has been operating in a masculine way, where she has all this material things that gives her a feeling of success and accomplishment. And when she's transforming the path over into her feminine way, where she has a sort of surrendered power, this woman's question is, what are your credentials? That was so fitting. And it's such a masculine question, because then if I say, well, I have a PhD in feminine power, I have a PhD in religious oppression, and I live in the Hamptons, and I have a Mercedes Benz and a G5 wagon, and I travel to St. Bart's 6 months out of the year, and I have a butler, then to her, that would make me somebody worth listening to. That also tells us that she, like so many women, oh God, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. When you really understand and you like really know it, not know it conceptually, but when you really understand how we got here as a species, you have so much compassion for women and men too, for why we move and think like we do. Why we, I'm a woman, you're a woman. Our natural state has been so corrupted. It has been so corrupted, so drastically corrupted. And for those of you who feel called to go do the research, the organized, deliberate, consistent act for centuries by the church, by just men in any kind of power, to make sure that the woman was repressed. The Malleus Maleficorum, the hanging women who were powerful in teaching and using herbs, and who were thought to be getting in the way of childbirth. Just all the efforting to castrate her socially in front of people, to remove resources from her, to remove her from the village, to inflict shame, the symbols that have been created through social structures, the whole social structures themselves are symbols to have us be stripped from who we are very naturally, because the uproars that we're seeing right now, if we were truly being natural, you wouldn't have to force a woman to be you wouldn't have to cajole and lecture her into being a certain kind of way if it was natural. Do you have to convince a man to desire a woman and want to procreate with her and have sex with her and be with her? And no, because it's very natural for him to want to put his penis in her and make a baby and smell her and be near her and to take care of her and be with. No. So a woman, for you to be like, because the Bible say this is your job and this is who you're supposed to be. Like, if it was natural for her to do that, she would just do it. You wouldn't have to use all this lecturing and because the Bible said and shaming and doing all this if it was natural. You know what a woman does when she doesn't have all these impositions on her to this is what you need to do and this is your duty and you're going to be a whore and you're going to be a Jezebel and you're going to be alone if you don't do this and I'm not going to pay your bills if you don't bend to my will and if it was natural, you wouldn't have to do that. Because you know what she does when she doesn't have all those impositions on her and she gets to, this is what she does. First of all, she plays. This is what she does. She explores. She sits and she wonders. She takes intuitive action versus thinking over herself 17 times. Oh, I have to do this. Oh, I have to do that. Oh, I better do this. How am I going to look if I do this? They're not going to like me if I do this. Men are going to say this if I don't do that. Oh my God, they're questioning me about marriage now. I better hurry up and get married. Oh, they're questioning me about kids. Oh, I better go hurry up and go have kids. I better go. When a woman wants to have kids, she wants to have kids. Okay? You don't need to pressure her and you're going to be alone. You know your clock is ticking. Yeah. When a woman wants to have kids, she wants to have kids. It's natural. When she wants to be with a man, she wants to be with a man. You don't have to shame her and coerce and you better because you know you're 32 now. The man is not going to want you once you get out of the 27 age. You better. This is what nature looks like. And you know what? A woman is free of all the impositions of her masculine mind that she's been drenched in for 30 damn years. She actually picks the guy she wants to be with. She doesn't pick a guy out of fear and urgency because she's scared of life and scared of the world. And she wants to get behind a man because this is how she feels like she won't be required to interact with life and really get to know herself because he's going to act like a shield. So then from a fear-based place, she's going to submit to his will and play the submission game because life is hard and because we live inside of a system that tells her you got to be like this to get love. You got to do like this because if you don't get a man, you're not valuable. And if you're not married and do all this by this age, you're unimportant and something must be wrong with you. And that's nature. That's nature. That's nature. Because a man don't have to be ashamed into having sex with a woman, making babies, etc. No, he is motivated naturally, 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 naturally. You know what a woman is motivated to do very naturally when she's full, when she's like actually being herself? She naturally wants to do for other people. When we are full, like we've been laughing a lot and we've been able to, like, let's say gardening is your thing. Gardening. Let's say cooking is actually your thing, right? My sister, I'm telling you, that girl restores and comes alive in the kitchen. I'm not that kind of woman, but she is, right? But let's say cooking is your thing. Gardening, shopping, right? Um, Making flower arrangements, right? Let's say working out is your thing, right? Maybe you do love kids and you love babysitting, daycaring, just taking care of kids around the house or whatever. Maybe you like traveling with your kids, right? The globe is their school, right? And you get to do that, right? Maybe skincare is your thing. Oh my God. You love to research new products. You love to try new products on your skin. You love to do videos about it and see how it looks in the morning versus how it looks at night. Maddie said makeup. Exactly, right? Playing makeup. I just ordered, girl, I love matte lip colors. Okay. Play in this color and see how it, do I need a liner? Ooh, this looks good with pink. Oh, boy, I look good in this light. Oh, this is a nighttime color. This is a daytime color. This is that. And you get to play and do all of these things, right? And laugh at, you want to nurture. Like Maddie said, Nicole said you want to give. You play, you want to do. You don't need to be forced into doing it, right? Then you got to force yourself into being thin because you're not fuckable unless you're thin. Like you're not desired unless you're. So then you try to force yourself into thinness versus finding joy in your life and getting the stress off. And that by itself has you naturally lose weight. I'm saying all this to get at the actual nature of a feminine woman. When you're in that state, another thing that happens in that state of play and honesty about who you are is that there's a natural trust with you. It has nothing to do with anybody else. You trust your decision making. You just trust. You trust life. You trust you. It has nothing to do with other people. You don't even necessarily need to trust other people because you trust yourself. Do you get that? Like this need for people to, I saw somebody say earlier, and I saw it, but I didn't want to get off track in that moment. But it was something about when people are like, what are your credentials? It's like they want you to prove your value kind of thing. And when I'm in trust with myself, where I don't, it's not about, right, but I'm full here, I'm nourished because I'm honest, I'm true, right? I don't need somebody else to give me credentials, to prove to me, how can I trust you? Like, I don't trust you, like, because I'm full here. I trust my choices. I trust how I see life. I trust how I do life. This is the feminine way. And this is why this woman who's built up this multiple seven-figure company, her whole uh, constitution, like, here's what I mean. I mean it like the way you genuinely feel and move about life. Not like how you think, like how you, because in our mind, like even I can be like, my mind can like do all this, like it can just go so any number of different ways on a topic, but it's not how I would actually move in a situation. You know what I'm saying? And so this woman who I'm talking about, who has the PhD, she's successful, and her whole constitution on an energy level, right? Because to build that up, there's a way of being inside the woman that's required, right? To build up a career over 20 years, right? A multiple seven-figure real estate portfolio, a multiple seven-figure transformational company, just hyper masculine, hyper linear, hyper like money is the that's my tool for moving things around, for getting shit done. And while she and so many of us build up and our constitution on an energy level becomes that, it has no sustenance. And when I'm looking, she is looking to come over into her surrendered, vast feminine way. The scary part is she has not built up self-trust in the process. Her whole trusting process has been data-based, right? It's been data-based. It's been what she thinks is going to give her the good looks. Okay. What's a good word for this? Logical, right? Like what's going to give her the good looks? What's proven? What's been proven, right? If, you know, what else? Just anything in the linear domain. This is why when a wife wants to convince her husband of something, she doesn't go to him and say, I just get I mean, unless her husband respects the feminine, but a lot of women are with men who don't respect the feminine. And so when they go to their spouse, they go very much with a linear explanation. Well, honey, I did the research. You know, the data says, right? The science says, that's why you're starting to hear more and women talk about the science of things. Women don't even talk like that. When we start getting into intuitive sense about things and we're truly in our feminine state, a woman is not going to be like, well, the science says that, you know, but you're starting to hear more of us say it because we're realizing that that's how we get through to even women, because so many women are masculine minded. Like the woman in here who was like, what are your credentials? And I would, if I wanted to just be kind of asshole about it, I would be like, well, bitch, what does your pussy say about what I'm saying, bitch? You see what I'm saying? What does your intuition tell you about what I'm saying, bitch? What does your womb tell you about what I'm saying, bitch? If I wanted to just be, you know what I mean? Which sometimes I do, right? But I wanted to make a point right there because a couple reasons. For all the women who follow me, those of you who are here now, now she's offended. Well, what you gonna do about it? What? Everybody, Cindy said she's mad offended. Good. No, but for real, it doesn't. It let it go. It's a good point. Like a lot of women are like you, Cindy. It's not a bad thing. It's just what it is. And now some light has been shed on it. Okay. So a couple things. Those of you who are sincere about your power. Okay. Maddie said, I can't talk to men in my life the way I actually think. They start saying I make no sense. I know. Okay, let me finish the point about how a wife or even a girlfriend who's with a man who she knows doesn't respect the feminine, right? Or just has an aversion to feelings and intuition and things like that, right? She'll go and she'll be like, so I did the research. I did the research and the data says, like, science has been said that for the last 50 years, heart disease has increased by 26% by women who work too much. Like, let's say she wants to quit her job, right? You know, that heart disease has increased by 26% for full-time working women. And this is one of the reasons why I think instead of me working full-time, I should work part-time. And I also read this article at Harvard that of all the graduates from that school from 2010 to 2022, that 70% of the women who got married and had kids ended up getting divorced when they were young. And right, to convince him about stuff because the male mind thinks like that. Now, we're not disrespecting the male mind. There's an appreciation for the linear, for what it can do, okay? For the value that it does bring. And for those of you who are sincere about surrendered power. I just can't even say enough about surrendered power. The words will not, I mean, the words will be nice. The words are nice, okay? Oh my God. I'm in love with this. I'm in love. I'm in such gratitude for true feminine power. It is so incredibly vast. It is so incredibly vast. It is so mm. I have words for it. Just words don't capture it. Get rid of try. Try is laced with doubt. You're asking me if I have on lashes, Natalia. You want to confirm if I have lashes or not? Oh, look at that. I felt that, hens. That's the thing about the feminine. Hmm. This is the angle that I feel good about talking about it from. Here's the angle. My experience of raw primal feminine power. We can finally play in the ways that I know women dream of, but they never actually experience in their lives. True, clean, raw, primal feminine energy would allow women to play and connect and live in the ways that I know so many women crave and are hungry for and want, but they never will. Because the level of humiliation of the ego that's required, the level of giving up all the sneaky, tricky ways we try to control, all the ways we give meaning to things on the when we're in the domain of the unknown and we grasp and give it a meaning and a story because we don't like the tension of the unknown. We don't like the unfamiliarity of the unknown. So we grab something that has such vast potential and we give it a meaning and a story so we can feel like we understand it. So then we lose all the dynamism of this unknown thing. And it gets in the way of the ability for us to exist in all the things we could do together, traveling together, working on global projects together that could drastically impact the world. All the rich things that we could do that we would love to see it in a movie. Like, ah, the things we could do that would be like a movie. And it could be our actual real life, but so many of us are so lacking in skill of dealing in the unknown. We are so lacking in skill. Our whole constitution of reality is just a constitution of stories and meaning making that are almost always disempowered and clenched somewhere. So we have this illusion of control. So we can think we understand, so we can give it meaning, like the movie Lucy. Did you guys see the movie Lucy with can't remember her name, but who here saw Lucy? Scarlett Johansson, yes. And hold on one second, let me. And in that movie, okay, in that movie, when she was explaining, do you guys remember this scene where she had she found Morgan Freeman because he was the only person who was progressive enough in understanding the human brain. So she felt like he was qualified to for her to download all this knowledge into, remember? And she was as she was explaining to him and his team about knowledge and the dynamics of the brain, she was saying the scale of human consciousness is so unfathomable that humans created a scale. She used the word scale. She said humans created a scale to ignore the unfathomableness of no scale. And to me, it feels so much like how the linear brain creates something that it can measure, that it can understand, that it can track, make data with, and use it, right, to produce to whatever it wants to do when the source of the linear scale is infinite, but it disrespects the the infinite, and reveres the finite, the logical, the masculine mind that wants to track it and measure it. And the data says that the last 500 years, and science is now confirming what the natives knew 20 fucking billion years ago. Science in 2024 is confirming what the natives knew 5,000 years ago, because the data says the linear logical. She said humans have created a scale, and it would have been controversial if she would have said males made a scale, because women don't make scales. Women feel we are everything. They've just created this reduction down into insignificance, okay, and inferiority and all that. She said humans create a scale to ignore the unfathomableness of who we are, of the brain. And it's even beyond the brain, but you get it. And yet, my experience, ooh, together we can do so much more. What's in the way of us doing so much more together? Together, where our lives are movies that are worth watching, where we truly do unfathomable things, is because we are so addicted to our illusions of control. We are so addicted to needing to understand, what are your credentials? Make it make sense. Well, how are we going to do that? Because, you know, we can't, because we don't have the money. Do you know how remedial that is? We don't have the money. We don't have the money. The vast intelligence, when we're dealing on an energy level, and your answer is we don't have the money. But the point is all the ways that we get in our own way. We literally lack the skill. We literally lack the knowledge. And this is why only the people who truly, that's why I constantly say who are sincere. When you are sincere, it shows. I don't even have to ask. Right? When you're sincere, when your mom, your children, a man is sincere, do you have to wonder about his sincerity? Do you have to wonder when your kids want something and they really, really want something, don't they show you how sincere they are about wanting it? Mommy, can I clean? Can I do this? Can I do that? When they really want, you don't doubt their sincerity. When a man really wants you, do you doubt it? No. He shows you. My ex-husband, I had zero doubt he wanted me at the beginning of it. He showed up every day, every day. He showed up even when I wasn't expecting him. He followed through. He did what he said he was going to do and more. When a man wants you, he shows it. You don't wonder sincerity. So for those of you who, when women tell me, I want my power, I'm telling, the kind of, when I tell you the DMs I get from women with all this, like, I'm telling you, I'm trying, I mean it, I'm working, women who, and then and he's like, well, what have you done in the last 6 months to work on this particular thing you're telling me about? Well, I've been busy. Tell us something we don't know, Archangel Sariel. Everybody here has power within that they're not using. It's a generic expression. Everybody has power within. Everybody. Most people never touch it. Okay. Someone asked, is journaling a good response? If you feel called to it, anything you feel strongly called to, I recommend you do it. Anything you feel strongly called to. Even if you feel dangerous, wrong, and bad. If you feel called to it strongly, do it. Yes, I prefer 30 plus regarding women in Italy. And yes, sometimes I'm okay, going on. My strength is being suppressed. I begin to lash out in anger a lot. Power is without as well. It's a full manifestation. Yes, correct, Nicole. Yes, I agree. Thank you for the over 15,000 hearts. I can't see. Let me see. Maybe I can see who's giving me all those hearts. Thank you for all the hearts. I couldn't see who was giving them all. Let me tell you why I'm saying no to 23 is because you have not yet had enough lived experience. That's the only reason why. Not enough lived experience. YouTube, you got any questions for me? Thank you for liking the live stream too, wherever that is. Lived experience, meaning you haven't lived enough to build up the wisdom and even this experience too. That when you live longer, and you have, there's certain, by the time a woman reaches 30, not always, but oftentimes, she's just had certain experiences that answer a lot of the inner questions that she doesn't even know to ask, or questions she doesn't know that's coming, etc. Because when you come to Women in Italy, we're doing, like, you see this conversation we're having here. It's this and more. And we start doing body work, and my experience so far is that with women who are typically under 25, even by the time a woman gets to 27, 28, there's a kind of maturity that's happened. uh, the frontal lobe is said to have been fully developed by 25. But typically, women who are under 25, not always, but most of the time, women who are under 25, there's a lacking of experience. So when they come into environments like mine, where there's such a high responsibility of self that's required, she hasn't lived enough to get to know herself enough to not feel, you know, Mm, the maturity is just not there. It's just simple as that. The maturity, when you live more, you gain more maturity, and it's just not there typically with women under 25. Women under 25 are like quick to abandon things because they just don't even, and it's just that they don't know that they don't know. That's it. They haven't had the lived experience. So when they're dealing with a woman who's moving a certain way, that live longer, and you'll see why she's moving like that. But when you're 22, 23, you're like, you don't, it's not there yet, you know. Yeah. So uh who here knows about my own all energies proven process? Hold on one second. I don't have on any pants. I was making sure y'all don't see my panties. Look, and don't have me to get the on the internet. I am. I'm just not gonna have my panties on camera. That's all I'm saying. And here's the thing: a bikini is panties, like, right? Sure, sure. But when I'm at the pool in my bikini, ain't that like me walking around with my panties on in public? Word. Girl, girl. Pardon me, I had to plug up my cell phone. The battery is low. So, who here knows about my own all energies process? You've seen my content talking about my own all energies process. I'm not so sure that this crowd, that is actually for this crowd. Woo! Well, welcome, Sai. I know another Farhia. I don't know if that's the Farhia that I know. Is that the Farhia that I know? Otherwise, wow, is Farhia a popular name? Is that Farhia that's in the women community? I can't tell. Oh, it is. Hey, girl. I was about to say, wow, Farhia is a popular name. Like, you're the second Farhia I've met, girl. So I think everybody here needs to buy Heal Your Witch Wound if you're sincere about your power and you know you can't afford to come into Shadow Gold or do anything that's going to require more than $200. Let me talk to you about Heal Your Witch Wound. So Heal Your Witch Wound is for ownership of your sexual power so that you can stop being afraid of your power. So, like, if that's not important to you, obviously you don't care about Heal Your Witch Wound. But if you know that your sex, and when I say your sex, I mean the sexual energy of you, I mean the sexual expression of you, I mean you being fully comfortable with being out in the world and commanding energy, eyeballs, hundreds of thousands of people looking at your content, commenting, engaging, DMing you to work with you, deeming you, admiring you, questioning you, judging you, all that. Um, you are overweight to hide your power. You have already run yourself into the ground with work, with weight, with trying to control things. Um, if your fear is losing your parents' love if you come into your full power, that's another big one. How your relationship with your mom is going to change. Um, these are some of the things that all, because I talk to almost everybody who signs up for Heal Your Witch One. I want to talk to them. So oftentimes I'll get on the phone or send an email, and this is what's coming up. So, one, fear of losing a parent, losing a relationship with a parent when you come into your full power, using weight to cover your beauty and your figure because of attention from males feels scary. You know, maybe you've been sexually abused, assaulted, etc. Farhia, would you like to share what your oh, Farhia just said it. I have it. It's so good. There you go. You read my mind. I was just about to ask you, will you share your experience? And there it is. Thank you for sharing that. Um, Farhia said, I have it. It's so good. Farhia, will you share what's been either the top takeaway or the top two ways that it has helped you and be as specific as possible? Or better yet, I don't think you have 1,000 followers on here, do you? If you do, would you like to come on camera? And if you don't, you can speak audio. Would you like to share what your experience has been here in front of everybody with your voice? I love that you read my mind. Okay, so let me come over here. If I can find you. Send me a request, Farhia. Like there should be a button on your screen at the bottom that says guest. Because I don't see you. Maybe you got a different name. Oh, there you are. Yay. Farhia? Yeah, we can hear you. Share with us your biggest before you share, I want to give some context to this. So, Heal Your Witch Wound is a digital product that I created to, as I said, help women own their magnetic sex power, your full, like the real source and depth of your power, so that you can stop being afraid of your power, stop being afraid of who you are. And it was created in response to so many women who wanted shadow gold, but they either didn't have the 5,000 to pay immediately or the six payments of 850, either of those, right? Because I thought, let me do six payments of 850, and so many women were like, I just can't do that right now, but they were urgent. Like some of you here today have been like, I need my power now, right? A lot of women have come to me like that, and that was how Heal Your Witch Room got created. Is 197. It's your on ramp. It's your introduction to prepare you for shadow gold. I want everybody to have shadow gold. Like you need shadow gold if you're truly sincere about this power thing. But if you're in like this, like, let me put my foot in, I'm new to this, I'm scared, or shadow gold feels too big, or I can't afford it right now, and you know that your sex power, meaning your body, the electricity of your body, and you're tired of playing small around your voice, your body, your expression in the world, the quality of your content, the way you order your days, you notice negative patterns in yourself that keep you playing small. You're scared of losing a relationship with a parent. Um, you're scared of your reputation and how you're going to look if you come out with this particular way of being. Heal Your Witch Wound is going to help you stop playing small and clarify your voice and play a bigger game in your life starting fast. And Farhia is going to share with you what's been her experience with Heal Your Witch Wound. So Farhia, how long have you had it, and what's been your experience, your top two breakthroughs or benefits, or how it's helped you?
Yeah, I think I've had it for like 2 months, a month and a half, about that long. And just in that small amount of time, I've had like some major big shifts that have happened for me. And one of them was like really just finding my voice. And it started small. Like I was living with a roommate that I kind of felt like I was kind of living there more for her than for me. And I felt very like undervalued, and I felt very like disrespected by her, but not because, and I wasn't even mad at her, I was more mad at myself because I'm like, if only I could just speak up and share like how I feel and how living situation is no longer serving me. And I stayed for 2 years with her, even though I knew the situation wasn't serving me. But after I started doing the course, it kind of like helped me claim my power back in that sense, where I was able to say, hey, this is no longer serving me. I'm not responsible for you. I want to move out. I told you I was going to stay with you till 2025, till you graduated nursing school, but I'm allowed to change my mind. And it helped me really like stand up to her because I was afraid in a way, and let her know what was really true for me. And I moved away from that situation, and I'm a lot happier and lighter. And now I'm in a better state just with that. It's been a lot easier to say no to things that are not for me. So before I would stay in relationships, even with friends, even though they never showed up for me the way that I deserved for it to show up, but I just kept them around just because I can say I have friends or I could have people in my life. And it kind of helped me kind of get my power back to be able to kind of stand up for myself. And I even broke up with another friend too because she just no longer was serving me and was in alignment with who I am. So it helped me kind of stop being afraid and like stop self-sabotaging myself and more like speaking up for myself.
Yeah.
And letting people know what I deserve without being afraid to lose them.
Yes, that is good. Who else here struggles? That's common. Like saying no.
Yeah.
No. Okay, the answer is no. No. That's a lot to happen in 2 months. That's super great. You know, something I would like to hear is something that was uncomfortable for you, or yeah, uncomfortable, unfamiliar. I'd love to hear that for this the reality of doing this kind of work.
Yeah, like speaking up, like even like telling my roommate that I wanted to move out was very
No. Inside,
Okay.
inside. Thank you for the rainbows and the gifts and things. Inside of Heal Your Witch Wound, was there one of the exercises or points or anything in there in particular that when you were either doing the exercise or reading it was uncomfortable for you, or you maybe felt resistant to doing it?
Most of the exercises I was resistant to doing it because I feel like I'm a very reserved person. But I had to push through that uncomfortability to do it, and that's when the major shifts and big changes did happen for me. Without giving too much away.
I love that.
Yeah,
Were there any exercises or anything in there that you were resistant to? Yeah, I was resistant to pretty much everything in there.
Yeah. All of it.
That's the reality.
Like,
huh?
It hurts so good.
It hurts so good. That is the reality. So, first of all, if you need this kind of power and transformation, you can go to the link in my bio and get Heal Your Witch Wound now with the link in my bio. YouTube, we have to put the link down there, but I can tell you it's naimasingletary.com/witch wound. naimasingletary.com/witch wound. So when you sign up, it comes to your inbox immediately. So if you're ready to start owning your sexual power, get your voice, be able to set up boundaries, say no, the way Farhia has shared here today, you can start working on that immediately. And the whole "it hurts so good," I'm telling you, that's how you know you're doing it right. When it hurts so good. I love that. I was in yoga class one day. The level of sweat and pain that I was in. And I was at a place in the class where you ever be in a class, any kind of fitness class, and this involuntary sound comes out of you. So we're doing all this downward dogs and warrior two, etc., etc. And then for a moment when I came up out of my down dog, I was just like, ugh. But it was involuntary. It just came out. And she was like, when you're doing it right? Because it was hurting, but it was so good. And so when that audible sound came out and the teacher heard it, she turned, and because she was at an angle in the class where she was like in the middle of class and students were to the left and right of her. And I made the sound and she turned around and was like, when you're doing it right? Because she could just hear. And I told her, I said, it hurts so good. And she was like, exactly, when you're doing it right. And that's exactly how it is, not only with physical things like yoga, but emotionally too. It's like when your ego gets humbled and it's like, it hurts and it feels like a sting, but gosh, it feels so good because you feel that part of you that wants to be out of control so you can have the act of the deeper, more nourishing thing. Who feels me on that? Because the ego is like a tyrant. What'd you say?
I feel you, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's even, it's actually motivated me to visit like an adult store for the first time in my life. That was very uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
It's motivated me to take a pole dancing class to learn how to be sexy, which was difficult for me to ever take prior to doing the course. So yeah, it's done a lot for me just in that short time, and I plan to revisit it again and
Of
again.
course. That's another thing. You have access to it forever. So that's another benefit. Farhia, thank you so much for chiming in here. Your timing was impeccable.
Yeah, thank you.
See you soon, darling. Bye.
See you soon. Bye.
All righty. I'll take any last questions and then I'm on my way out. That was so good. Any final questions? Any comments? Um, and let's see here. You're welcome, Maddie. Hmm. I see my lighting changing, huh? The sun is setting. This has been such a joy. Um, I'm glad I got a chance to come connect live today. It was totally intuitive. And I look forward to connecting with you all next time. Bye, YouTube.